A very good afternoon to Dr. Patil, to my department colleagues, and to all the participants, and a warm welcome to all of you on behalf of the Chemistry Department of St. Xavier's College. In my opinion, there are two types of researchers: one who do research for academic interest and publish with little or no consequence to the society, and another who do research clearly aimed at benefiting mankind, promoting the growth of society, and the advancement of human species. Dr. Patil belongs to the latter category, and that's what makes his research meaningful, exciting, and inspiring. So, dear participants, please sit upright and get ready for thrilling experience that Dr. Patil has to offer us. Now I'll request Dr. Prahlad Rege to take over and formally introduce our esteemed speaker for this webinar. Thank you.
Everyone. Myself, Dr. Prahlad Rege. I am here to introduce today's speaker, Dr. Vishwanath Patil. Dr. Patil is eminent personality in the field of research and academics. He is currently working as Associate Professor in the Department of Chemistry, University of Mumbai. He did his graduation and post-graduation from North Maharashtra University, Jalgaon. He was university topper at BSc and at MSc level. He did his PhD in inorganic chemistry from Institute of Science, Mumbai. His area of research is water-soluble polymers, light-emitting polymers, nanochemistry, polymer nanocomposites, invisible barcodes, polymer nanocoating. Dr. Patil is member of Board of Studies in Chemistry, University of Mumbai. He has guided 16 PhD and 4 MSc by research students. He has total 45 publications in various national and international journals with high impact factor. Dr. Patil has 33 patents to his credit. Dr. Patil is a recipient of many awards like Dr. Arvind Kumar Memorial Award for Best Young Scientist in Chemistry by Indian Council of Chemists 2019. Best Researcher and Academician Award at University of Mauritius. Recently has developed antiviral coating for PPE kit and N95 masks for the safety of doctors and other medical staff during COVID-19 pandemic. He invented new invisible barcode technology for aeroplanes, expensive luxury cars, and automotive sectors, etc. This invention has been published in highly reputed journal Advanced Material with impact factor 25.8. With this brief introduction, I would request Dr. Patil to please take over the session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
First of all, I thank JVS College, especially Principal Professor Dr. Shinde sir, then Head of Department Marzban sir, Prahlad Rege sir, other teaching staff of the JVS College, students of the Xavier College for inviting me here and giving me this opportunity to interact with all young minds, young researchers. So, good afternoon, everyone. Uh, Today's topic of my research is my talk is research for the benefit of mankind. In this topic, I'm going to cover how we can select a topic for research. What are the aspects which we have to consider before starting our research? What kind of research we can do? What is the impact of research on society? That this part I'm going to cover, and in later part of my lecture, I would be talking about uh, how we developed antiviral coatings, how we invented barcode technology in our laboratory, in our very small laboratory of Mumbai University. So let us start with the presentation, research for the benefit of mankind. I'm sure the young minds will really like this presentation. I will not make you bore, but yes, definitely I will ask you many questions during the presentation. Uh, It is not an exam related question, I'm sure. Yes. First of all, I would like to start with the very interesting question to all. Normally, I ask this question to my MSc society. You are my first lecture to them. Mostly in MSc part one lecture. So I ask them why you are coming to college, why you are attending the lectures, why you are doing the practicals, why you are completing the assignments. They look at me surprisingly and say, "Sir, this is out of syllabus question. Why you are asking this question?" But my friends, this is very important question. Unless and until you are not setting your career goal, it would be difficult to reach there. And once you decide your career goal, you have to work accordingly. You have to work hard so that you will be a successful person in your life. So a goal without plan is just a wish. I have one example here, a story. I read that story in a very famous book, You Can Win, written by Shiv Khera. And in 2-3 pages itself, is written a story related to the person who is selling the balloon. You can see the next picture in the right side, the person selling the balloon wala. Now the job of this balloon wala is to sell the balloon in the most. One day what happened, none of the balloon was sold. So he was in tension. Now what to do, how can I go home, how to feed my family. So he was in tremendous tension. What he did, he thought something, and he went up a, a garden which was surrounded by the tall buildings, and he released one balloon. The balloon was going up and up and up, and the child or kids from the floors, first floor, second floor, third floor, was watching that balloon that is going up. They insisted their parents and asked the money for buying the balloon, and slowly all balloon got sold. Balloon wala was very happy. Now only one child came with a coin, and he said that I wanted to buy a pink balloon, but now you have a black colored balloon. Now what to do? I don't like black color. But balloon wala said, "Arey baba, ek hi balloon hai, you please buy it." So he said it is a black balloon and it will not go up. Balloon wala said, going up is not a tendency of the balloon that depends upon the color, but it depends upon something that is inside the balloon. Until you are not deciding your goal, you are not feeling something inside you, it would be very difficult to reach the heights. So please decide your goal and work accordingly, do your hard accordingly. Suppose you must have decided your career goal that I want to do a job in pharmaceutical industry, I want to do a job in college as a lecturer, I want to be a person. So anyone can decide any goal, but you have to work hard accordingly. Suppose you are deciding that yes, I want to be a scientist, I want to do research. So why people do research? I will mostly concentrate in this line at why research. Research people do normally for getting degree. Some people have their decided their goal that I want to be a highly qualified person, so they do PhD. Some people do research for getting promotion. If you are joining industry after a few years, so industry people may ask you to do PhD, because unless and until you are not doing PhD, you will not get a promotion. So getting higher position, some people do research to become a scientist. Some people are really passionate, so they do research uh, for society. So they work on social problems and they become a scientist. They do research for this, for solving many problems. Now basically, what is the research? Research is nothing but the scientific investigation, usually using scientific methods. And research contains several components. For example, it has a title, specific title. So every person can understand what is there inside your research once you read the title. Abstract, that gives detailed information about the research. Then experimental, that gives information about what kind of reactions you conducted in laboratory. Results and discussion gives information about your findings, and conclusion gives what exactly you want to say. about your research, and acknowledgement if you are getting funding from any funding agencies or anybody is helping you for the research, that you can put into acknowledgement part, and then references, which references you are using for the research. Some slides I will be going a little faster, some slide I will give some time. So what is good research? Good research is the research that has a clear idea. As I said, even the layman, if he is reading abstract, you should get idea what exactly you have done. Thrust area, it should depend upon the thrust area. So I would be talking on thrust area later on. Innovative work. So it should be done by you only, not by other people. And it should be related to the social cause. Not necessary, but it should be beneficial to the society or human being. And it is easy to execute. It is not that you have a 3 years time and your research will take 6 years time. So it should be finished within a realistic it should be, and it should be favorable in lab condition. So whatever your lab conditions are there, accordingly you have to design your research proposal or research project, and you have to work accordingly. Now, what are the basic requirements for the research? So one should have a lab that has a basic pH meter, conductometer, or glasswares, chemical. These are the basic requirements of the research. Unless this basic requirement, it would be very difficult for us to start the research. And innovative minds. Researchers should be there alone to research. So he should have helping hands. So young minds, researchers should be there, and uh, computer facility should be there. Unless and until we are not not having computer facility, it would be very difficult for us to do the reference, type data, type results, or type of papers. So we should have a computer facility, and it should be attached with the internet. And of course, library should be there for ready references. Now, before starting the research, there are some important points that we have to consider. First, what is the society need? So what society is looking for, what society is facing, what are the problems society is facing? Like today we are in the corona. Yes, people are trying to find a vaccine, people are trying to find a medicine, but as a researcher, how can we help society? How can we help society to get rid of this problem? Or can we contribute through our research to this problem, to solve this problem? That way we can think. Like we thought about developing antiviral coating. So that is the need for the doctors. So that way you can think before starting your research, and accordingly you can start. Environmental need. So industrial need. Some industry may require some product. So that may be their basic product, and depending upon that they prepare their final product. So can we develop some intermediate product for industry? Can we start industrial based research marketable? Yes, if you are preparing some compound or something that should be marketable. So accordingly, you have to design the topic. Yes, my research should be beneficial to the society. And more important is that you have to think how much grant I am having before starting the research. Unless and until, if you are not having money, it would be very difficult to start research. So you can approach the funding agencies, or suppose if your institute is providing some grant, then you can start accordingly. And last important thing is time for execution. Suppose MSc students are having projects, that project is having say 21 minimum 21 days. So accordingly you can design topic that can be finished within 21 days, or at least 1 month or 2 months. So these points we should consider before starting the research. And what are the qualities of ideal researchers? So according to me, these are some qualities. Ability to work hard. You should work hard. Good observation and good thinking ability. So he should have good observation. Why color is changing? Why the endpoint is like this only? So that we can think that observation we have to do carefully. I would like to give example of Isaac Newton. So everybody was observing that apple is falling down, but nobody was thinking why apple is falling down. He only observed that He only thought that why apple is falling down. So he thought over it, and then he did research and he invented gravitational force. So good observation ability. He was having good observation and good thinking ability. The last slide to the right side, you can see this picture. This is related to discovery of DNA structure. Now we know that Watson and Crick discovered the DNA structure of the DNA, but we don't know that the DNA structure, before invention of DNA structure, Franklin and Chargaff did maximum research on DNA. But unfortunately, they could not invent, they could not propose the structure of DNA. But on the basis of their result, these two fellows, Watson and Crick, proposed a structure and they got a Nobel Prize because both were having good observation and good thinking ability. And so this way we should have good observation, good thinking ability, and the researchers should work at any time. My students are working day and night. So if they are getting result properly, they are staying in the lab only. And we should be patient. Researchers should have patience. Today you may not get result, but tomorrow you will get result. Day after tomorrow you will get result. As Prahlad sir said that we invented invisible barcode technology. You won't believe that this technology we developed at the night, at the midnight, around 12:30, and we were there in the lab for 4:30 that day. That was a eureka day for us. So you should have patience that anytime you may get result, or tomorrow you may get result. You should be very attentive. So whenever your guide or your teacher is asking, we are calling you, you should be attentive always. And now most of the people will be asking me how much knowledge should I have for doing research, or how much percentage I should have for doing research. Yes, UGC has recommended that 55% will be the minimum percentage for doing research. But I would say that average students can do better research. I have a few examples. For example, first slide you can see, first picture, it is the picture of Anton Van, who is happened to be a father of microbiology, who invented microbiology actually. And what was the qualification of this father of microbiology? He was uneducated. And today we see that entire world is looking for the virus, coronavirus vaccine, and most of the microbiology people are engaged to invent this medicine. So thanks to father of microbiology, who is uneducated actually. And then another picture you can see, it is a famous pair, that is a Wright brothers. What was the qualification of Wright brother? They were uneducated, and they have invented a plane. Now entire world is traveling through a plane. Then another picture, that is Michael Faraday. So qualification of Michael Faraday is he was a lab chemist and he could only do schooling, but still he did a lot of research. He invented many things. And this is the picture of Einstein. We know that E is equal to mc square, invented by Einstein, theory of relativity. Now, when he invented E is equal to mc square equation, he was just a typist. And fortunately, I had visited his house. This is his house, Einstein house at Bern City, which is near to Zurich city. Now, this is actually a small, you can see here a small window. So that is actually his office. Here his typewriter was is there now, and now it is converted into a library. So qualification or knowledge is not a criteria for research. Any person can do research. And now you will be asking me at what age we can do research. Now I would say that at any age you can start your research. Like the example, last year's chemistry Nobel Prize won by a very oldest person, that is John Goodenough. He worked in the batteries actually, and for batteries he received a Nobel Prize. The age of this fellow is 97. Now I'm not saying that you please wait for 97 years till you get 97 years. But at any age you can start your research, even after joining a college or even after joining any university you can start your research. Or if you are joining any company or any institute or any organization, still you can think about your research. Now, as I said, I will talk on the thrust areas, most of the popular areas in science where we can start our research. I will not read all the areas, but I will read on these points. So interdisciplinary approaches. By that time, you can go through these points. Interdisciplinary approaches. Now, people are worried about the white hairs. How to get rid of white hairs? Normally, we dye our hairs to look like as a young. So, can we find some nano oil so that if we apply it to the hairs, our hairs will be permanently black? Can we do this? Or food packaging? Can we keep our food fresh by inventing some packing material so that we can supply the garma garam food to the military people? You must be aware that our military is fighting with the enemies in uh, uh, near Siachen border. So their natural conditions are very worse there, and the army people are supplying food to those army people from Kashmir or nearby areas, and it takes some time, 2 to 3 days, to reach food to the military. So just imagine what is the condition of that food if it is reaching to the army people. So can we invent some food packing mechanism so that we can we can keep this food fresh? Or can we invent nano fuel? Now fuel prices are increasing day by day. How long we can use natural fuel? Can we invent some artificial fuel, nano fuel? Or can we invent artificial blood? Yes, in this process some research is going on. I have googled it and I found that artificial blood people are working on it, and artificial cell people are also working on artificial cells. So my friend, there is hardly any solution, any social problem on which science cannot make some contribution. In every problem there is solution. Just we have to identify the problem, we have to work on that, we have to do the reference, and we have to do the research on that topic. Now, all discoveries today are based on the ideas of men who lived before us, who did research before us. And on the basis of that, we are doing research today. So there was very famous quote I found on a board. I'm not remembering the exact line, but the meaning was, nature has many unexplored mysteries. Just we have to study them, we have to uh, search them. So I hope you can see the slide. I hope you can recognize the man. He is Alexander Graham Bell, and he's showing his invention, that is telephone, in the conference to the scientist, and he's showing the demonstration of this telephone. Now, from where he got the idea of inventing the telephone? Let us see the history of Alexander Graham Bell. When he was a child, he was very much interested in telecommunication because his mother was deaf, and Alexander has to talk close to her forehead to understand her with the help of vibrations. So she has to speak with a loud voice and with the vibrations. And moreover, Alexander's father was a speech teacher. So he was always thinking that I will invent some device so that I can communicate with my mother. And he worked on it. He did a lot of research on it, and he invented a telephone. And he got a patent in 1876. After his invention in 19th century, so every richer countries used his invention, used telephone, and later on in 20th century, the telephone is modified into cellular phones, cordless phone. And today in 21st century, uh, everybody is carrying mobile phone. It's converted into a mobile phone now. So from his laboratory, the research or his invention reached to the pocket of a common man or everybody. So who are the users then? We are all users of Alexander Graham Bell's invention. So college students, everybody's having mobile phone. Kids are now using mobile phone, and their classes have been started on the mobile, on online platforms now. So they are using mobiles for attending the classes. Then farmers are using mobile phones. Uneducated people are also using mobile phone. They don't know how to operate the mobile phone, but yes, they can receive the call and they can talk to their relatives uh, from any part of the world. So this is the Alexander's invention. Now, the important thing is that Alexander was not using a telephone in his office because he was considering it as a distraction. And today we cannot live without mobile phone. We cannot imagine even the life without mobile phone. Now I would be concentrating on my research now, effect of catchy title in research. As I said, title should be very clear and it should be understandable by any person. So how the title affects in research. So this was a project which we did in our laboratory. I will read the title: Green Synthesis of Anticancerous Platinum Nanoparticles, PTNPS, their alteration effect on BSA and hsDNA. Now BSA is bovine serum albumin, it is obtained from cow's blood serum, and hsDNA is herring sperm DNA that is obtained from fish. So we did research, we prepared a nanoparticle by the traveler's plant extract, and we made these nanoparticles in 48 hours of stirring, and we monitor the reaction with the help of absorption spectroscopy. And after 48 hours, we found that platinum salt can be converted into nanoparticles. And we did research on its optical properties of nanoparticle, then cancer's activity we studied, and we also studied effect of these effect of these nanoparticles on BSA and hsDNA. We thought that research is very good, so we prepared a paper and we submitted the paper to the journal having impact factor around 2. So normal impact factor. We submitted the paper to the journal. So immediately within few hours, the paper got rejected. And we again modified the paper as per the Anachar journal's format, and then we submitted. So that journal also rejected our paper. So my student got disappointed. He said, "Sir, kaitari kara, sir, kuch to karte hai." Then we sat together and we observed that the SEM images of the nanoparticles are not clear, but yes, we can see that these images are exactly similar to the honeycomb. So we thought that instead of using PTNPS word, we can use honeycomb platinum nanoparticle cluster. So now it become attractive. So we submitted this article to higher impact journal now. See, the paper got published. It is very famous journal in biology, that is Journal of Photochemistry and Photobiology. Impact factor of journal is 3.2. Earlier we were trying to publish the work in in impact factor that has 2, impact factor 2. But now we got the paper in higher impact journal. So this is how the catchy title effects. So here we replace the platinum nanoparticle with honeycomb platinum nanoparticle. So everywhere we replace this over. So this is the way we can make our research more attractive, or title more attractive. Now I would like to go to the invisible barcode technology, how we invented invisible barcode technology. Basically, I'm a polymer person. So I use polymers in every invention because I'm more comfortable in polymer chemistry. So we invented invisible barcode technology in our lab with the help of polymers. Now I would be discussing how we invented barcode technology, or why we invented barcode technology. Now the knowledge is over. Now just relax and listen carefully. Just imagine that you are in the shopping mall. So mostly the college students like shopping. So let us imagine that we are in the supermarket now. And what we do in the supermarket, we take a trolley and we go to the respective counters. Like we can collect biscuit, we can take shampoo, we can take soap, and we can take any other vegetable or anything. And after collecting these items into the trolley, we go to cash counter, right? So there, person sitting on the cash counter, he just scans the object. He's not even bothering what exactly you are purchasing. He just scans the object by something and he hand over the bill within a fraction of second. What exactly is doing? What exactly is scanning? He's scanning the barcode that gives information about the object. So let us see something about the barcode. So barcodes are nothing but the optical machine readable representation of data, which is in the form of these vertical lines. You must have seen this barcodes on any object, or it may be in the form of this. So this diagram or this form is known as barcode. So there are two types of barcode. Now I will finish this part. One dimensional and two dimensional barcode. One dimensional barcode, this is the barcode which is in the vertical line. It is one dimensional barcode. Or another kind of barcode is matrix or 2D barcode or two dimensional barcode. It is in the form of these shapes. It may be circular, it may be triangular, or it may be any shape, but it should be readable. And you can use both the types of barcode. It is not compulsory that whether I'm using this or I'm using this, but it should be readable worldwide. Now, India is using this barcode, that is UPC, Universal Product Code. Now, this barcode is mostly used in other countries too, like US, Canada, UK, Australia, New Zealand, Europe, and other countries. So basically, this barcode is having 12 numeric digits. So these are the numbers. There are 12 numeric digits. So these numeric digits gives information about the object. Now, how we can collect information about this object? Now you can see here. The first 6 digits gives information about generic company prefix. That gives about the company information, which company has manufactured it, at what date it is manufactured, and what form it is manufactured. And next 5 digits gives information about item reference number. That is whether it is commodity item, whether it is grain, whether it is shampoo, whether it is biscuit. That information we can collect from the next 5 digits. And last digit, which is very important, that is check digit. That is obtained by some calculation of the 6 digits and 5 digits. And then last, after getting calculation, after getting the figure, last number is introduced here. We will not go into detail part of that, how we obtain the check digit, but information is that just you keep in mind that there are 3 types of information we can obtain from the UPC, that is generic company prefix, item reference number, and check digit. So today we are using these barcodes everywhere. You can find barcode everywhere, like patient identification wristband. So instead of carrying very long files of the patient's history, just if doctors are putting a band here, so that is enough. So no need to carry the long files. Or courier people now uses this barcode that gives information about the person who is sending to which person. So entire information is included in this small barcode. Then chemical companies also use these barcodes. Then vegetables, and everywhere the barcodes are used. So another kind of barcode that is coming into the market now is Anko design. So if I'm putting barcode here, that is Anko design, and if water level or moisture level of the vegetable reduces, automatically the barcode will vanish. So normally vegetable people say that, "Arey madam, ye to bahut fresh hai." So now they will not say this, because if you are not finding the barcode, don't buy that vegetable. So presently this barcode is available in Japan now. Soon it will come to India. Now, if barcodes are very important, and if every object is having barcode, who invented the barcode? That is the question in mind. So these two scientists invented the barcode, Bernard Silver and Norman Joseph Woodland. Actual idea was Bernard Silver's brainchild, and he conveyed his idea to Norman Joseph Woodland. And Norman Joseph, with the collaboration with Bernard Silver, he designed this barcode, which is in the form of spherical form. And later on, they converted this spherical form into vertical lines. And NCR is a company that first developed the scanner for reading the information which is which is stored in the barcodes. And Ringless gum, which is a famous chewing gum, was the first item which was scanned by this NCR's scanner. So this is information about history of the barcodes. Now, in order to scan, in order to read the information, we should have the barcode reader. So today there are many scanners available in the market, like laser scanner, LED scanner, camera based scanner, or even mobile can also be used as a scanner. If you are going for applying a visa or for a visa interview, people there scan your passport by using their mobiles. So mobile scanner is also available now. So what are the advantages of this barcode system? So it is very small, lighter, it is not adding to the weight of the object, and it is easy to use. It is less expensive than any other type because only ink is involved. So it is very cheaper, economical, and it gives accurate information, sensitive information that can be readable worldwide. Any part of the country you can read the information, and it saves the time of retailer and customer. You will not find long queues in the supermarket. And today barcodes are found almost on every item because it is advantageous. So though it has advantage, it has some disadvantages too. If you are uh, in the supermarket, the person can every object individually. So he is not scanning entire object from the trolley. One by one, he's scanning the object, and he has to bring object to the scanner, or scanner he brings to the object. So direct line of sight is required to scan the object. So this is one of the disadvantage. Should be close to object and scan individually. Easily damage. You can damage this barcode by using your nail because it is just a ink. You can damage this using your nail, and if damaged, there is no way to scan the object. You have to replace the item. Sometimes the person says that madam dusra leke aao. So you have to bring another object, or he brings another object. So there is no any alternative if it is damaged, and it can be misused or it can be altered. So people can change the barcode. If they have facility, they can change the barcode, they can alter the barcode. No, this is another kind of tagging. I will skip this slide because it will take another hour. RFID, radio frequency identification. Just for information, you must have seen this tag, this device, which is now compulsory for the four-wheelers. So that is called as fast tag device, and it is necessary for electoral toll. If your vehicle is passing through the toll, automatically your toll will get cut. So this is another kind of tagging. It has a computer chips where the data is stored, how much money you have added to that chip. So everything is stored, and automatically your electoral toll gets cut. So it is based on radio frequency. So it creates the radio frequency. I will not go into the detailed part of it. I will skip this slide. This is mechanism, how it works, and it has advantages also because it is computer based, and it has two chips. So you can reuse those chips, whereas earlier method we cannot reuse the barcode. We have to replace the barcode directly, but here you can reuse. And it has a disadvantage because it is expensive, because computer application is involved and two separate chips are required, so it is costly. So people are not normally using for all objects. For particular specific object it is required. Now this is how we started inventing invisible barcodes on the basis of the information which we have seen earlier uh, about the barcodes. We tried to invent the new technology, that is invisible barcode technology, in our lab. How we invented? First of all, let us discuss about the flight MH370 crash. I hope everybody is aware about this flight MH370 crash, which was happened in 2014 of March. Now, what exactly happened here? The Malaysian airline, which was carrying 239 people, it took off from Kuala Lumpur for Beijing, and within 15 minutes, it disappeared from the radar. Till today, nobody is knowing what exactly happened to that Malaysian MH370 airline, Airbus. Nobody is knowing. People are having more than 60 theories about this air crash. Somebody is saying it is crash, somebody is saying it is hijack, somebody is saying it is crashed into the sea. There are many stories people are having. But search committee found 3 wreckages in the Indian Ocean, and it is believed that these 3 leakages are from MH370 plane. It is believed, not confirmed, that it is from same aeroplane. Till today, there is no technology available to confirm that yes, these parts belongs to MH370 aeroplane. So we are saying that we are very advanced in science, but till today, there is no technology available. If we are getting some object from the sea, after a few days, we cannot identify whether it belongs to same aeroplane or not. So we thought we can do some research in this line. Let us see another incident, another air crash. I hope you must be familiar with this because it belongs to our Mumbai, and it happened in August 2018. I have taken this news from Indian Express site. So what exactly happened to this aircraft? A chartered plane was flying over Ghatkopar and it got crashed. How many people died in this incident? 5 people died in this incident. 4 were traveling through the plane, chartered plane, and one was a poor fellow that was just passing over the footpath. And oil fall and he died. He completely burned. So the disaster committee or the search committee submitted its report to the government, and the report says that it was a assembled aeroplane. What exactly the assembled means? The body of the aeroplane was made by some other company, engine was made by some other company, and some other person assembled this aeroplane. And in assembled case, if you are trying to submit your insurance claim, the insurance company will say you tata bye bye, because it is assembled aeroplane. It is not made by a single company. So this is the kind of forgery people are doing. They are having engine of one company, body of another company, and they're making the part. Am I audible? Hello, Majban sir.
Yes, sir, you
Hello.
are audible.
Okay,
Yes,
okay. I
sir,
thought
you are
there is
very much
some.
audible. Yes.
Okay.
I think someone
So,
switched on the microphone by mistake.
okay,
Okay.
okay, okay.
Participants, please keep your microphones off. Thank you.
So we thought that let us start research in this direction. So we ask our questions ourselves. Lot of question we ask ourselves. Can we label each and every part of the aeroplane so that this label can be readable at any point of time, after 50 years, after 15 years, or after 2500 years, or even after air crash in crucial cases? Suppose if the aeroplane is completely burned, can we still read that label? So which company manufactured this aeroplane and at what date it is manufactured, or any information that can be readable even after aeroplane is completely burned? So we thought in this way, and we thought that can we invent a mechanism by which we can identify manufacturer's detailed information or product information, no matter whether it is aeroplane or whether it is any other object. But can we still read the information of that object at any point of time, after 50 years, after 100 years, or after many years? So we thought in that way. We thought let us design some label, so which can be useful in this case. So further we ask many questions to ourselves. Do non-living things have DNA? Like living things have DNA. So do non-living things have DNA? Which we ask ourselves. And if non-living things have DNA, will this DNA be visible or invisible? Would it be breakable, non-breakable, like our DNA? Body जला दिया बस DNA खत्म, proof खत्म. So likewise, if living things have DNA, would it be breakable, non-breakable, degradable? If so, can we identify non-living object easily whenever we want? Suppose if we are labeling the object by any technology, can we use that label like DNA so that at any point of time we can get information about that object? So these questions we asked ourselves, and so we started our research that is depending upon the synthesis of gold nanoparticles. So general idea is, if you are converting chloroauric acid into nanoparticles, because of the smaller size, these nanoparticles becomes invisible. So this is the general idea. People normally prepare nanoparticle, and if we are applying those nanoparticles somewhere, it becomes nanoparticle become invisible. So we thought that we can use this idea in our research. So what we did, how we started, we first started with the polymer. As I said, I'm a polymer person and I use polymers in every research. So what we did, we took this polymer. I'm sure that you will not be easy to remember the name of this polymer. It is epoxy resin, and this is the name of the polymer. But simply, I would say the marketable name, that is uh, uh, araldite. So araldite is the name of market name of this polymer. This is linear polymer. We converted this linear polymer into cross-linked polymer. Now I'm not saying, I'm not discussing any chemistry part. I'm sure if there is there any chemistry person, he can understand the lecture. So we converted this polymer into cross-linked polymer by using this curing agent. Curing agent Jeffamine. So we use many amines, but I'm reporting here curing agent Jeffamine. Now, curing agent is the word that is pioneered by this man, and the name of this man is Charles Goodyear. So name of the tire company is, you must be knowing, Goodyear company. So this Goodyear has invented the phenomenon of curing agent. Accidental discovery of Goodyear, you must be knowing, vulcanization of rubber with the help of sulfur. Sulfur used as a curing agent there. So we use this Jeffamine as a curing agent to cross-link this polymer, and we obtain this araldite by using made by this Huntsman company. Why Huntsman company? Because Huntsman company is supplying the epoxy resins or araldites to the companies which manufacture the body of the aeroplane. So our target was aeroplane, so we purchased epoxy resin from Huntsman directly. And this is the normal reaction. Chloroauric acid, people are interacting with the tertiary amine, and then the amine reduces the gold into a nanoparticle, and because of the size it becomes invisible, or very small size we cannot see. So this is our reaction. We converted linear polymer into cross-linked polymer. And why cross-linked polymer? Why we are not taking linear polymer only? Because if we are converting linear polymer into cross-linked polymer, the cross-linked polymer has pores, and if you are putting a drop of gold on the polymer, it percolates inside, and it reacts with this tertiary environment which we have created with the help of Jeffamine. And when it comes in contact with this tertiary environment, like here it is having tertiary environment, so the gold gets reduced into a nanoform and it becomes invisible. So this was a very simple idea. Every lab people can use this idea. You can do this kind of research in your lab. So this is the general mechanisms. This is the polymer which we have prepared, cross-linked polymer. This cross-linked polymer is having pores. So if you are putting drop here, so it percolates inside, and while going inside it forms a nanoparticle. And this is how we characterize the nanoparticle. I will not discuss this part of characterization of the nanoparticle, but we used all the methods that can be used for characterization of the nanoparticles. So this is a new technique which we invented. We prepare a disc of the araldite, or rather we prepare a sandwich of araldite with the help of either glass fiber or carbon fiber. Why glass fiber or carbon fiber? Because while designing the body of the aeroplane, company used carbon fiber in order to make the fiber sturdy. So we use same technique for making the disc, and when we are putting a drop of gold solution here, the solution is very dilute, that is 10⁻⁷ microliter. So one drop is enough. It percolates inside and it forms a nanoparticle. It becomes invisible after forming the nanoparticle, and these nanoparticles can be visible after inciding, after bombarding a wavelength of particular light, that is ultraviolet light. 254 nanometer wavelength we require for observing this nanoparticle. So we have written AU code. Why AU code? AU is a symbol of nano symbol of gold, and code just we thought we will use, instead of barcode we can use AU code. So the two types of discs which we prepared, one is by glass fiber. We sandwich we sandwich carbon fiber here, and here we sandwich the glass fiber. So two types of disc which we prepared, and in both the discs we have written AU code. Now let us see the video of the disc. So whether the nanoparticles are inside the object. So these are the discs which we have prepared in the laboratory with the help of araldite and glass fiber. So we have written AU code 312 nanometer ultraviolet light. Yes, it is still visible, but slightly. But at 254 nanometer ultraviolet light, it is completely visible. Now, let us scratch the upper area, and let us see whether it is on the surface or whether it is inside the surface. After scratching, if still the barcodes are, if this AU code is visible, then we can say that yes, it is inside the object. Let us see now, after bombarding the 365 nanometer wavelength, and then next 254. Yes, it is clearly visible. It is inside the object, not above the object. Let us still scratch the surface, and let us see whether it is still visible or whether it is not visible. Visible light, it was invisible. Then at 365 nanometer, it is slightly visible, but at 254 nanometer wavelength, it is completely visible. Now you can see at 254 nanometer wavelength, it is completely visible. It means the AU code or barcode which we have designed, it is inside the object and it is invisible for the naked eye, for in the visible light, but it is visible in the ultraviolet radiation. Let us go to the another video with the carbon fiber disc. It is visible 365 nanometer wavelength, also 312 nanometer. Then let us change the wavelength 250 per nanometer. It is completely visible. Let us scratch the surface. It is process is similar. See, in the visible light, it is invisible, and after scratching the upper layer with the blade, let us see whether still the nanoparticle is visible or it is invisible. Yes, still it is visible. I think here it is clear. 265 nanometer, 312 nanometer, and 254 nanometer, it is clearly visible. Right. So let us go to the next slide. So we in technology, invisible barcode technology, and we propose that it can be useful for aeroplane, as our target was aeroplane. Further, it can be useful for ships, expensive luxury vehicles, and other automotive sectors. Even in the defense, for writing some information, some confidential information, the defense ministry can use this technology. And I'm very happy to share here that the DRDO is adopting our technique for the missiles and for their fighter planes. So we are developing a paint for them, which is based on this invisible barcode technology, and sooner their fighter planes and their the other missiles and all this will be painted with our new invisible barcode technology. So the question arises in mind that we are using gold. So will it be economical or not? Yes, we worked on the economy of our work, and I'm happy to share that in order to tag one wing of the aeroplane, we require only 50 paisa. Can you just imagine 50 paisa? And moreover, we are using a manual method. We can have a stamp, like we are having the stamp in the office, and we are using on the document. So similarly, we can have a stamp and we can stamp the wings of the aeroplane. And because aeroplane body of the aeroplane is made from the carbon fiber epoxy material, automatically it will percolate inside, solution will percolate inside, and it will be invisible. So it is economical. And the special properties of these barcodes are, it is invisible. Nobody will see where you have given the information to the object. No effect of temperature because gold is very stable, more than 1000 degrees Celsius is stable, and no effect of water. Gold is stable in the water again, and even if it is in the sea water, but still it is stable and non-degradable unless and until your object is there. As long as your object is there, your barcode will be there. And in Marathi I will always say that सूम जळतं पण पीळ जळत नाही. In that way it is there. रस्सी जलता है but बल नहीं जाता. In that way the barcode works. It can remain as it is for several years and no chance of alteration because inside it is inside the object. And if somebody is trying to change the barcode, means he is damaging the surface, he is damaging the object. So there is no way to change the barcode. And we propose that it can be used in defense. As I said, defense is now using this technology, and security purpose for tagging almost all non-living objects made from the polymer. We can use this technology. So this is how we can use this technology for tagging the aeroplane, because body of the aeroplane made from 55% carbon fiber. So easily we can use this technology for aeroplanes. Then for tagging the high cost vehicles like Mercedes, BMW, because body of these vehicles is containing 65% carbon fiber. So easily we can use. It is not a conclusion of this presentation, but it is conclusion of this work. Yes, we have successfully designed the barcode, which are ultraviolet, which are visible in ultraviolet radiation, tamper proof, thermal characteristics are more. And this was the first report in which we prepared gold nanoparticles inside the object. And we published this work in Advanced Material that has an impact factor 25.8. And I'm very happy to say here that this is one of the highest impact publication of our Mumbai University. So after publishing the paper, we were everywhere in the media. So it started with the with this news that is Vastuncha DNA Shod. Till that moment, we were not having this in mind that it would be related to DNA. But when I read this article, then I immediately call the reporter. Yes, you are right. We can use this as this terminology in our research as a DNA of invisible things. Then claiming insurance made easy with the MEM techniques. So it can be useful for in claiming the insurance, like in Ghatkopar air crash, the assembled aeroplane. In that case, we can easily find this. We can easily use this technology. So this is the my student who actually did this work of invisible barcode technology. Why I'm saying that, you will I'm sure, because there are research students here, they can get motivation from this fellow. He's from very small village, and he did this entire work by working day night in the laboratory. Now just imagine where he is now. He is Amol Pansare. He is now a scientist in Swiss Federal Lab, SFL, and he is getting salary 70 lakhs per annum. So it is almost 4 to 5 lakhs per month, and he's belonging to very small village. So everywhere we were there. This is Amol again. This is another Amol who is third author of the paper, and we are on FM Studio. Then everywhere like TVs. This is our team which we are celebrating. These are the discs which we have prepared. Amol Pansare, me, and Amol Shedge in our laboratory. This is me in Harvard University. We did this project in collaboration with Harvard University. This is Edward, our collaborator. This is Amit Nagarkar, actually, who helped us a lot in designing this barcodes. We are working on new topic at the Harvard University lab. Another work which we have did in our laboratory, it is related to the coronavirus. Entire world is in lockdown condition now. All research institutes, colleges are completely or partially closed. In that situation, we did some work that is related to the safety of doctors, safety of the medical worker, and it is antiviral nano coating for PPE and N95 mask. So normally, if we look at the infection, ways of infection, how coronavirus is getting acted on the people or getting give infection to the people, there are three ways. When you are coming into contact with the corona patient, directly or indirectly the virus will enter in your body. When he is breathing, from his breathing the virus can enter in your body. Or if the corona patient is sneezing, and if he's without mask and you are without mask, then directly the virus can enter through his sneezing droplets, respiratory droplets. Or if the corona patient without mask, if he's sneezing in the environment, and after 2-3 minutes if you are passing through that environment, then you will be getting infection that is called airborne droplet nuclei infection. So these are the three ways how the corona virus can enter in your body. So I would like to discuss a very serious issue here. In spite of taking all cares, doctors are getting infected because of this coronavirus. Now this is really giving fear to the doctor whether to treat the corona patient or whether not to treat the corona patient, and everybody is under very tremendous frustration here. So we thought that we can do something for the doctors, but we carefully studied this issue, and we observed that there are 96 doctors who are tested positive so far, and 156 nurses, 145 medical workers, and 15 hospital technician staff are have tested positive with the corona infection. And under quarantine condition, 53 doctors, 79 nurses, 693 medical workers are under quarantine condition. And if we see the data of hospitals completely or partially shut, in Maharashtra there are 10 hospitals which are completely or partially shut. West Bengal 6 hospitals, Delhi 2 hospitals, Karnataka 1, Tamil Nadu 1. Unfortunately, I'm not having the data of doctors those have died with the corona infection, and this data I have collected from PTI side, and I'm sure that number will be very large. These are the old figures. I'm not having the recent figures, and unfortunately World Health Organization site or Indian Medical Organization site is not having any data of the doctors infection or doctors death. So this is very serious issue. So we thought that we can work in this direction. Like earlier case, like in aeroplane crash, we asked many questions. This way, this time also we asked the question: can we make doctors safe? Can we prevent these doctors from having viral infection? Or can we prepare virus-proof PPE mask? Or can we design a magical chemical that can be applied to PPE or that can be applied to mask, so that doctors will be completely safe? They can treat the corona patient, they can take care of the corona patient without fear. Or can we design antiviral coating for this PPE mask? So we thought that yes, we can do, as a researcher, we can do this work and we can design antiviral coating. So we decided to design antiviral coating, but there were several challenges in front of us. We obtained this PPE kit from the KEM hospital, and we observed that it is hydrophobic in nature. Even water will not stick on this PPE material. So it was a challenging job for us to invent a chemical that can stick this PPE material. Then antiviral coating should be stable. It should be stable throughout the use. It should be safe, because doctors are using it continuously for 7 to 8 hours, and doctors are using the mask also. So it should not be toxic to them. It should not be separated or removed from the PP mask at any cost. It should be completely stick to the mask, and it should be easily dried so that we can use it immediately within 15 minutes. And it should be converted into spray form sometime, not for the doctor, but common people or police people can also use this spray, and they can spray the mask or they can spray on their coat or everywhere, so that it will make antiviral environment. And more important is that it should be water insoluble. So if some accidentally water is falling on the mask or on PPE kit, it should not dissolve in water. It should be water insoluble. So there are, quickly I will go through this slide. There are 4 types of antiviral coating. One is based on nanoparticle, one is based on thermoresponsive polymer. That is, if you are touching the polymer surface, because of your body temperature, the capsule which are embedded inside the polymer, it opens and it becomes antiviral and it gives antiviral effect. Or photosensitizing material, the polymer contains photosensitizing material. If it comes in contact with the atmospheric oxygen, it creates a singlet oxygen or nascent oxygen that can interact with the lipoproteins of the coronavirus, and the corona destroys. Or quaternary ammonium salt, like in earlier invisible barcode technology, we created tertiary environment. Like that, we can create environment here that has nitrogen that carrying positive charge. That positive charge can interact with the proteins present on the corona spikes, and it can destroy the corona RNA. So general mechanism is that if this is the mask, and if we are applying the antiviral coating here that contains the nanoparticles, the nanoparticle can attack the spikes of the coronavirus, which are made from the proteins. So it dissolves the lipid protein, and then the nanoparticle can interact with the RNA, mRNA of the coronavirus, and it destroys the structure of the uh, RNA, and thus it destroys the coronavirus. This is the general mechanism. And finally, we design the antiviral coating. This is the antiviral coating which we have designed in the lab. This is manually applied to the PP strips, which we have obtained from the keep. And you can see that how uniform this coating is, even if we have applied it manually. And these are the strips which we have prepared, and we have applied antiviral coating. So how we develop the antiviral coating, just some information I can share, because I cannot disclose all the information here because it is a confidential work. So we prepared first medically grade polymer by using the chemicals recommended by WHO, and to this medically grade polymer, we synthesize a nanoparticle inside the polymer. Like in early case, we have synthesized in situ gold nanoparticles. Similarly, we here synthesize the mixture of nanoparticle in situ synthesis that we call. So, and we mixed with some gradients to this antiviral coating in order to make them more efficient. And finally, we applied this antiviral coating on the sample of the PP obtained from KEM hospitals. And the properties of these antiviral coatings are, they can be prepared within 4 hours. Means starting from polymer synthesis, starting from the nanoparticle synthesis, mixing with another gradients, it requires only 4 hours. So very short procedure. And antiviral coatings are very stable and safe to use because it is used with non-toxic chemicals. So doctors can easily use, and this the PP made from this coated with this antiviral material, and it is easily dried within 15 minutes. Even if you are keeping in the air, it dries within 15 minutes. And it can also be converted into spray form. We have converted it into the spray form, and we tried first it with the deodorant bottle, but unfortunately because of the facilities, we could not fill the gas into the deo bottle. So we used the scent bottle for spraying the antiviral coating, and we are hoping that so this antiviral coating will have very high efficiency and high efficacy, so it can have potential to kill the coronavirus. We have submitted the samples to National Institute of Virology, Pune, and as per the suggestion of the Director National Virology, Pune, and Director General of CSIR, Delhi, we are in the process of submitting the sample to CCMB, Hyderabad also, so that some of the data we are getting from NIV, and some of the data which is not available in NIV, that we can obtain from CCMB. Now university has contacted the CCMB Hyderabad, and we are waiting for the reply so that we can send the sample. But because of the lockdown period, we are getting a lot of hurdles to send the sample. Even submitting sample to the Pune was a difficult task for us, but yes, with the help of authorities, we have submitted the sample to the Pune. Even government of Maharashtra helped us a lot. So in this regard, so this antiviral coatings are economical, and easily we can use this for the PPA. So we propose that yes, we have developed antiviral coating, and safely doctors can be used this antiviral, the PP is coated with antiviral material, and they can safely treat the corona patient without any fear. So where we can use this antiviral coatings? So any part you can use this antiviral coating, like plastics, then even on the metals you can use this antiviral coating, like lift button, or wherever you think you can use this antiviral coating, like hospitals, like planes, like buses, like car, also you can use this antiviral material. So this time also we got a media coverage because university has given us the place on its homepage for our research. So they have added one window, one place for our research in homepage only, because it was a great discovery, as the authority says. So they have added this book on their homepage, and immediately after that they released the press note. So it went to everywhere, and almost the news was in all newspaper of the Maharashtra, and even it was on the news channels also. So this time we got a lot of coverage because it was related to the social cause, and it was related to the safety of the doctors. So this is all about my research, and research which is beneficial for the society. We so far in our lab we developed two important researches. One was based on antiviral nanotechnology, and one was based on the invisible barcode technology. And I'm very happy that my students are working hard, and they are doing the research for the society, for the benefit of mankind. So at the last, I would like to acknowledge the people who are supporting us, like UGC, DSTCRB, DRDO, and Polymer Industries, UGC, BSR, for funding us, especially Amit Nagarkar, who is working in Harvard University. He helped us a lot. And Amol Pansare, as I said, he is now in Switzerland, who worked on the barcode technology project. This picture was clicked during his Viva. So he's Amol, and this is Professor Verenkar from Goa University. So we have clicked this photograph in the Ford campus. And Sham Khairkar, who is second author of the paper, he's a Sham. Now he's working as a postdoctoral research fellow in Japan. He was actually postdoctoral research student, my research student. And Amol Shetty, who submitted this is Amol. And for antiviral coating, I thank our Vice Chancellor, Professor Suhas Pednekar. In spite of his busy schedule, he is helping a lot for our antiviral coating. And especially, I thank Sunil Peshne, who is belonging to Swachh Urja Alliance. His company, this is his own company, and he is working on a greener solution to the industries. He's giving greener solution to the industries, and I'm very happy that he's having 15 years of coating experience. So we collaborated with Dr. Sunil Peshne, and I'm also very happy to say that he's my first PhD student. And now the current PhD student who actually worked on antiviral coating is Roshan Rane. In spite of this lockdown situation, uh, he's staying in the hostel, so he could not go to his native place, which is in the Konkan, Ratnagiri. And he was continuously behind us that, sir, kaitari karuya, sir, kuch to karte. Then we thought something, and we had a Zoom meeting, and we discussed the issue of the doctors. And since the Sunil was belonging to the coating area, and I'm belonging to the polymer, so polymer and nano, so we found some solution for the doctors. So I also thank Xavier College once again for giving me this opportunity to interact with you all and present my work in front of you all researcher. And thank you, each one of you, for listening me patiently. Thank you so much. Over to Mazban sir.
Thank you so much, sir. You really deserve a standing ovation for the lovely work that you have been doing for the benefit of the society.
Thank you,
Over
sir.
to Kyle. Kyle will handle questions first.
Yes. Yes, we will
Should
do
I
that.
stop share?
Yeah, you can.
Okay,
If you
okay,
just keep
okay.
your camera on,
Yeah,
so then
fine,
people
fine,
can
fine,
see
sir.
you. Yeah. Okay. So, sir, the first question that came up is, what is the scope of nanotechnology in India? That was the first
Nanotechnology in
question that
India.
we had.
I would
Yes.
say that nanotechnology is having answer to many social problems. So when I joined my research, when I joined University of Mumbai in 2004, so the trend was, if I'm submitting a proposal to the funding agencies, and if it is related to the nano, it was sure that I'll get a funding. So the people, researchers are also in this opinion that yes, nanotechnology can solve many social problems. So it has a future, lot of scope in India.
The next question is what is the scope for quantum nanoscience, particularly in India, and what is the eligibility for it, for its entry?
Quantum nanoscience, I won't be able
Yes.
to say some much about this quantum science.
Okay. Uh, Next question is can we scan linear barcodes in our mobiles? Why barcodes vanish when vegetables or fruits are not fresh?
Okay, that is Yanko design. The question is all about. So
Yes.
Yanko design depends upon the moisture level
In the
or
same line, sorry, sir, in the same line, there's also the question of the mechanism of the Yanko design. So if you could, yeah.
mechanism of encodation I'm not knowing, but basically it depends upon the water content in the vegetable. If
Yeah.
water content reduces, accordingly it vanishes. If water content is completely down, it completely vanishes. So it completely depend upon the water content. So the ink has an effect with the water content. So
Okay.
mechanism I exactly don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
But barcodes, okay. So then there is another question in similar lines is, are the barcode number printed in batches or each and every product has a different barcode number?
Every product has a different barcode. Every product has a different barcode. So including
Okay.
the number of the object, including the manufacturer's information, including the detailed information of the object, about the size and about the manufacturing data and all.
Okay. Same in the same lines, there are a lot of questions on the barcoding system, sir. So yeah, there is a question: is the invisible barcode visible after burns? Is there any method for applying a solution for making a particular code?
Yes, invisible barcodes are invisible even if you are completely burning the object. We have tried with the disk which we have prepared. Unfortunately, we were having facility to burn it up to 400 degrees Celsius only. So up to 400 degrees Celsius, we tried it with the ultraviolet radiation. Still, it is invisible in visible light, and it is visible in ultraviolet radiations. And the
Okay.
solution which we are using is chloroauric acid, which is the concentration of the chloroauric acid was 10⁻⁷ microliter. So it is very, very dilute solution. So little yellow
Okay.
tinge it was having. Okay.
Another question in terms of nanoscience for beginners in the research of nanoscience. How could we start? What are the prerequisites, and how could we think about areas of research in nanosciences?
Okay, nice question
Question
it
from
is.
many of them. Yes.
Okay, first of all, you have to have the knowledge about the nanoscience. Now in MSc level or TYBC level, up to TYBC level, the many topics related to the nanoscience is included. So what are the nanoparticles? What nanoscience exactly is? What are the methods of preparation of the nanoparticle? I would give one example to the beginners. So you can prepare a nanoparticle even by interacting the metal salts with the plant extract. Like I have synthesized a nanoparticle with the help of travelers plant extract, because Mumbai University is having many traveler plants. So what we did, we made an extract of this traveler plant, and we interacted the platinum salt solution with this nano with the metal salt and traveler's plant. We stirred the solution. You require only stirrer, you require a beaker, and you require a plant extract. So you mix these two solutions and stir the solution for 1 or 2 days and observe the solution continuously. So no additional instruments are required to prepare a nanoparticle. Within a small chemical, uh, less number of glass bears, you can prepare the nanoparticles. So nanoparticle synthesis is very easy. The plants are having a constituent reducing agent that reduces the metal to metal nanoparticles, and then you can study this nanoparticle. You can study the effect of this nanoparticle on any cell, like cancerous cell, bacterial cell, or this simple work
Right.
can beginners will do.
Yeah. So, sir, many of the students have found your session very informative and very well explained. So, not many questions. So, that would just be one last question which has come up in the question line. What is the chemical used for coding the barcode?
What is the
What is the chemical used for coding the barcode? I don't know whether you would want to
coding the
do
barcode?
that.
So it is I
Yes.
think the question is not clear actually.
Not clear exactly.
Coding
Even
the
I felt
barcode.
the same thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. There is just someone who's recently just put up a question. Can such biocompatible nanoparticles be made that would be useful as visible indicators of infections or diseases in the human body,
Yes, yes, yes. People are working on this line. So the
like
barcodes.
skin
Yes,
bio?
yes,
Yeah,
yes, yes. It can be useful.
can be useful. Yes. So with that note, I think that would be that was the last question that was asked. So I think I would like to propose a very sincere vote of thanks to you, sir, as a very honorable delegate who has given out a lot of your valuable time here today for all of us, and to all the participants who have come here to attend this session and take a lot of information that you can best take from a wonderful person in this field. In this line, I would like to say, sir, the guidance that you have offered these participants through this enlightening session will surely give them certain sense of direction to set new goals for their research in their future. So I would like to quote: the common facts of today's products were an idea from yesterday's research. So on this note, I must mention a deep sense of appreciation to our speaker for such a wonderful session. I would also like to extend my special gratitude to Mr. Marizban Kotwal, the head of the chemistry department, and our principal, Dr. Rajendra Shinde, for providing us with all the assistance for the webinar, and also to all the faculty of the chemistry department. In particular, I would like to thank Dr. Prahlad Rege, who has brought to all of us such a wonderful resource person. I would also like to thank Ms. Neha Kapadia for all the creative work put into this webinar. So that's with it, sir. And I would request Mr. Marzban Kotwal if you could just formally thank sir as well, or even Prahlad Rege, sir. So over to you.
Thank you
Arju,
so
sir.
much, sir. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, sir, for taking
Thank-
out time out of your busy schedule. I'm very sure you are highly pressed for time. And in spite of the lockdown, you have been working very hard to put us through, to help the society. So thanks a lot. I'm sure all the participants really enjoyed the talk, the exciting, the thrilling talk that you have given us. And I'm sure that they have been left inspired to do great research in future. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Prahlad, sir, a few words.
Thanks a lot, sir. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Prahlad, sir.
Thanks.
Okay,
Kyle,
just
you
a
wanted
short
to give
note.
some
Yes.
instructions, please?
Yes, just a short note for all the participants. The feedback form will be put on the WhatsApp group immediately after this session. Please fill the feedback form with your correct name details and email ID details. You will receive the certificate immediately after submitting the form on the email ID you have put. So please mention your email ID and your name correctly. Thank you. That's all from our end.
Kyle,
We
1
could
minute.
end
Kyle,
the
1
session.
minute.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I wanted to thank Professor Marzban Kotwal, our head, for all his cooperation and support. Without his support, this would not have been possible. Thank you so much, sir.
Always welcome, Prahlad, and your hard work.
And thanks to Kyle also.
And
Thanks to Kyle
and
also.
Neha
Yes,
for
yes,
designing the brochures, for
yes.
creating WhatsApp group, for creating the links,
I was
for
troubling
all the
Kyle a lot.
logistical support.
I was troubling Kyle a lot.
Yes, yes.
But anyways,
No,
hard
sir,
work
no
is
trouble, no
hard
trouble.
work
All
is
done.
paid off.
All done.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much to everyone.
And you'll
Yes,
find this
great.
video on YouTube within about 2 days. Okay, so
Yes.
participants can please send it across, share it with others so that they can partake of the knowledge that sir has given. Thank you once
Yes,
again, one and all.
Please do subscribe to our channel as well. So
Yes,
your
yes.
support will help us on our channel as well. Thank you so much.